Hi, everybody, and welcome to my third Facebook Live session. We've got a very exciting webinar for you today. We're going to talk about the wonderful Equithalasso products, and I'm going to introduce you to a wonderful lady who actually got me involved with the Equithalasso products, and I'm so glad to introduce Miss Kate Buckley to you. Let me just pop her in here. There she is. Hi, Kate.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
How are you doing today, Kate?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, good. You're coping with all this lovely heat with the horses?
Oh, better that than snow, so
Right. And it's
I'm
nice
good
to be
with
back
it.
outside with them, right? Not stuck inside
Yeah.
doing absolutely nothing.
Oh, this weather has been fantastic,
Yeah.
so can't complain about that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
Mhm.
coming today. We're going to jump right into the little interview I've got for you. So, why don't
Great.
you tell everybody about yourself?
Well, this is a bit of a long story and a bit of a weird one. I'm actually come from the world of corporate sales, so places like Scott's Miracle Grow and LePage Glues and Bayer Aspirin and what else? Nivea. So I worked in sales and marketing for most of my life, and most of my education is based on that actually. But I always had wellness in my heart. And in 2006, I started studying to become a Bowen therapist.
Whoops. Where'd you go? There you are.
That's okay. Something that I wanted to do in the background. And because it is a big leap to go from a nice corporate sales job to an entrepreneur in wellness. So it is a bit of a leap, although I highly recommend anybody follow your heart. Absolutely. Um, but yeah, so I always had that going in the background, and I got into Bowen because an acquaintance of mine did Bowen on horses, and I thought that was fascinating. To get into Bowen on horses, you had to work on people first. I got stuck on people. And then I carried that all the way through to certification. And it was just in the last 4 years that I have ditched the rat race of corporate sales and jumped in with both feet into wellness and focusing mostly. Most of my clients are horses. I also work on dogs and people, but horses are my main clients. And in doing that, you meet a lot of people, and I met this woman, Barb Smith, and she introduced me to Benedict Lucazzo, who is the creator of this line. So, I learned about it. It was a very interesting product line, the way it came about, the things that it does, which we'll get into later. And then I've just kind of expanded my toolkit. So I've got the Bowen therapy on people. I've got the integrated body work on horses. I do cold laser therapy on any creature. And I do the algotherapy, which is what Equithalasso type products, treatments are called. And here I am, and no looking back, and couldn't be happier. I love my job. Absolutely love my job. I love the people I meet. I love the horses that I get to work on. It's truly, truly special.
I totally agree. I have my corporate work for Omega Alpha, and I get to
Mm-hmm.
deal with horses there. Then I have my own passion with my mare, and then of course having my business, I'm able to do all hands on deck with horses. So I
Yeah.
can totally sympathize with you, and the love
Mm-hmm.
just flourishes, right? It's just
Yeah.
there, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
And what's better to wake up to horses every day and not have to
Exactly.
really deal with too many on a personal note, right? With people, so.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
horse clients are the best kind of clients,
They
that's for
are.
sure.
They really are. And just being able to interact with them on a daily basis and just share, like, it's people probably think I'm a little loopy when I say this, but it's absolutely magical. This space that you share with a horse when you're locked into each other, when you're treating them, it's a really, I wouldn't rather be any other place than there.
Yes,
So,
totally
mhm.
agree. Okay, next question I have for you. So you told us how you got involved with Equithalasso, but what is it? Like I get a lot of my clients asking, okay, so it's like a mud, right? But maybe you can go into a little bit more depth on exactly what it is and what it does as well.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say. There's mud in my backyard. Can't I just use that? Um, these are the thing that I love most about these products. They are natural. They are non-drug. For those who compete at the higher levels, they're non-testing, and they have phenomenal results. And I am more aligned with the natural way of doing things as opposed to a pharmaceutical or mechanical way. So the thing that I like about these products is that they come from the sea. They contain all of the same nutrients, vitamins, minerals that are already in our bodies. So it works extremely well with the equine physiology, and they're easy to use. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to learn how to use these, and it's actually a lot of fun. So finger painting on a horse, what could be better than that? And then during a session, you watch the horse relax. You watch the horse basically melt into the floor. And there's nothing more rewarding than seeing that head drop, seeing the big yawns, seeing the big sighs, and just watching this horse, the physique change in front of you because they're being able to relax, or they're getting out of pain, or you're helping them in some way. And it's very profound. And these products make it easy to be successful in doing that, and it does it in a natural way. So it's really win-win-win all around.
Awesome. So the basis of it is to do with algotherapy. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, so algotherapy means seaweed. So it's algae. They're all algae based. There's different combinations of algae. So there's different properties in each of the algae that are in these formulas, depending on what you want the result to be, whether it's anti-inflammatory, whether it's reducing swelling or cooling, or the marine mud has all sorts of, if you will, dead sea life in it. Nutrient rich, really, really good for bones and joints. And yeah, the combinations of them are what make them magical. So it depends what you want to achieve. And there's basically a product for any musculoskeletal issue that your horse may have. So
Awesome.
yeah,
So
it's
we've
really
learned about,
comprehensive.
yeah, no kidding. And then obviously, as we get into more of the products a little bit later in our discussion, we're going to get into a little bit more depth on how to use them, when to use them, what the benefits are, and things like that. But where did it originate from? Obviously, we know it's from some sort of ocean, but can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit more about that?
So the name is a bit of a tongue twister. It's Equithalasso, which is not obviously an English name. So it comes from France, and thalassotherapy in France goes back to the ancient Roman times, the Roman baths, where they have, the sea salt, if you know about the Dead Sea and all the products that come from there, very, very salty, very nutrient rich. So these all come from France. And that is where Benedict Lucazot is from. So she's from Normandy. And I'm just going to get into her a little bit.
Sure.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
she's an equine osteopath and physiotherapist. She actually has 4 schools over there, which are all recognized by the government, which is, if you know, the French regulatory process is an extremely hard process to successfully navigate through. And she has done that. She's got 4 schools. So she's quite well known. So her client list includes Maxime Livio, Chester Weber, who's the gentleman pictured there. He's the 17-time world champion for combined driving. He's down in Ocala. She does the French team for show jumping, dressage, endurance, and eventing. She's quite well known, and she's actually interested in getting over to Canada a little more often. But anyway, so having 4 schools and doing as much work as she does, she herself gets thalasso treatments. And while she was soaking in mud one day, she had a aha moment. And she thought, well, wait a minute. If I'm trying to do osteo on this Olympic dressage horse that's got a sacrum that isn't going to budge, if I soften it with these heating muds, detoxify it, let go to all the muscles around it, then I can go in and I can actually manipulate the joint the way it needs to be for the horse to function properly.
That's
Boom.
amazing.
And thus Equithalasso was born. And
Ah.
it's been in France. Yeah, it's been in France since 2008. She launched in 2008. And it took a while to get to launch because she conducted extensive testing. She followed 200 horses over 2 years to make sure she had the right combinations, the right proportion. Is it the right amount of anti-inflammatory, the right amount of detox, the right amount of cooling, all of those sorts of things. So a lot of research went into these products, and as well as the excuse me, as well as the element of them being natural. So
Yes.
she didn't want to add, preservatives and whatnot. And anyone who has seen our marine mud container, it's got that knobbly top that's really hard to get off. The
Yep,
reason
I've
that's
experienced that one.
yeah, and the last thing you want to do is break that little tab off. But
Yeah.
the reason it's in a container like that is because instead of adding preservatives and antibacterials to it, they put it in an oven and they put it at the right temperature to zap all of the bad bacteria instead of having to add something that would take away from the natural element. So
Very smart.
very clever, very just, that's what people are looking for. People want natural. People want to get away
Yeah.
from the chemicals, especially if you don't know how your horse is going to react. It's
Yeah.
just easier. It's natural. So
Yeah.
chances are the horse isn't going to react.
Yeah. It's very reassuring for horse owners that have sensitive skinned animals or any kind of irritation towards any
Yeah.
kind of chemical, right? So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. A lot of horse owners, trainers, riders, they're all going towards the more natural route. And
Yeah.
so that's where
Especially
our business are going to thrive, right?
Yeah, and especially since so many drugs and substances are being banned, it
Yes.
really provides an alternative for you to take care of your horse effectively at the highest levels
Yeah.
and still be within, have a healthy horse and be show legal. So it's
Absolutely.
it's really, really good. And just
Yeah.
to share one quick little story, at the Royal Winter Fair last year, someone came up and said, "My horse has these allergies," and it was a list of all of these plant allergies.
Yeah.
Is he going to react to these products? So I looked at the list and I said, you know what? Let's do a test. Probably not, because all of the allergies were land based, if you will. They're all plants, not plants that are in the ocean. So we did a test. We tested because she wanted to try the competition and then the self heating, the two body wrap products that we have.
Mhm.
And just to make sure, the last thing you want to do at the Royal is do a treatment and then have your horse break out in hives or,
Right.
worse. And so we did a test and nothing. He was good to
Perfect.
go. So he loved his body wrap. I believe he got second in the jumpers the next day. So they were
Wow.
pretty pleased. Yeah.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. And it speaks volumes for the products as well, right?
Yeah. Cause he actually, no, it was a mare and she came in with a pretty sore back and erased that. And then she went on to do very well. So they were happy.
And that leads me right into my next question. So what do the products aim to do?
Depends on the product. So there's a whole variety of products. So we have body wraps, which are fairly self-explanatory. So that is it's an all-over treatment and it fully detoxes the horse. If you think of a human spa treatment, not that we get to do it that often, if at all, where they cover you in seaweed and then they wrap you up like a sushi roll. And that's essentially what you do with the horses. So you mix up the mud. They come as powders. There's instructions on how to mix them, how much water to use. And you just mix them up. It's kind of like you're baking a cake, really. You get your whisk and your bowl and your spatula and off you go. So you mix it up and then you apply the body wraps all over. So that is a muscle treatment. And then we have the spot treatment, which is it gets very, very hot. You actually can't put that one on with your hands. You have to use a spatula. But that's one for a localized area that's really hot, like the sacrum, the lock sacrum that I was talking about when I was explaining how Benedict discovered this. And then there's leg treatments. So if you've got swelling, if you've got a bowed tendon, if your horse has worked really hard and you don't want to wrap them because ideally you want your horse's legs to stay cold. You don't want to have a warm leg. So stable wraps, if you can get away from them, this offers a perfect alternative. So you can, anything that's puffy and swollen, anything that's hot. If your horse has a hot spot, they tweaked their foot in the ring, or they took a funny step, or they got kicked. You can have something to cool it down. And there's a product that's amazing for arthritis. So for the senior horses that are starting to get a little stiff and a little sticky, arthritis and splints, suspensory ligament injuries, basically there's something for just about everything that is a structural biomechanical issue.
Perfect. So these type of products you can definitely use like before competition or exercise, and obviously
Yeah.
post competition or exercise too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, you can relax your horse before a competition, or you can detox them if you've been at a show for a week. You can detox them if you're, if they've been on the trailer. If you went down to Florida, you came back and they've been on the trailer for 24 hours, you can do a quick little detox just to make sure there's no lactic acid, or, they're not stiff and sore from the ride, as well as a horse coming back after a colic, or mares a certain amount of time after they give birth. You can do a treatment on them and help everything kind of relax. Yeah, you can do it whenever, and that's what they're designed to do, which is why it's great, because they're non-drug, non-testing, so you can use them wherever with no worries at all.
And you can obviously use them in combination with one another, right? So you could do
Yes,
something like a competition body wrap, but still put like the cryo tendon or
absolutely.
any other months on the lower leg or lower limbs, right?
Mm-hmm. And for example, with the eventers that we work with, our recommendation is, for example, after cross country or even with a racehorse, the minute they're off the track and going back to their stall, put cryo tendon on their legs, let them cool down, and then rinse that off. And then before you tuck them in at night, put the draining clay on their legs. Again, you don't wrap any of these leg products, so you'll save bandages, you'll save time, you'll save laundry. You just rub that on their legs and you leave them overnight. And you brush it off the next day or rinse it off, or the horse will lick it off sometimes, which is fine. So it's really easy. It really cuts down the maintenance time, and it does not skimp at all on the effectiveness. If anything, and we'll go into this, I'm sure, when we get into the products, but with the draining clay product, you don't have to. When you wrap a horse, if you take the wraps off and their legs stalk up again, all you did was defer the swelling. You didn't really solve the swelling. So, for example, with the draining clay, you put the draining clay on, it's a very strong lymphatic drain. So, what that does is it actually pushes the body to do its job. So, arguably, it's a little more closer to home to making the horse's body do what it should be doing, as opposed to, wrapping it. And I know it's a huge paradigm shift, and some people still do prefer to wrap, which is absolutely fine. It's just this offers a really nice alternative for horses that don't like to be wrapped or like to eat their bandages, or
Right.
are challenging.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think once people start to try something new, I know it's hard to wrap your head around trying something new and out of the norm, right? But
Yeah.
once people start to utilize it and see the benefits, then I think it's just going to catch on. And I think that's where
Exactly.
these products are going to be really beneficial, because it's something different, something new. And so by introducing these products, and their horses are going to benefit from them, whether it's from an injury or, like you said, arthritis or pre or pro competition, it's going to catch on. And that's, I guess, what we're hoping for it, right? To grow it really quite
Yeah.
large in Canada, in Ontario specifically, right?
Yeah. And it's hard to believe that something so simple hasn't already been here or hasn't been copied. But I mean, that speaks to the time and patience she put into the formulas, that they haven't been replicated.
No.
And so, let's spread the word far and wide on these amazing products, and
Yeah.
and let's help all these horses because they love it. What horse doesn't like mud?
How long have they been in Canada? How long have the products been here?
I've been distributing it for just over 2 years now, and I believe it was here about 5 years ago, and it was based in Quebec, but it never really got any traction. I think the distributor for it um, had other life events coming up, like babies and whatnot, that kind of distracted her. So, yeah, so then it's only been really going steady for the last 2 years.
Perfect. Got to start somewhere, right? So we might as well just
Exactly.
jump in.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know there's quite the spectrum. I've got your brochure here, and like just
Yeah.
the number of products on there.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we could maybe touch up on them a little bit so everyone gets an
Yeah.
idea of what is what. So I know one of the more popular ones is the competition body wrap. So if you want to just
Mhm.
discuss that and let me know when you want me to play that video that you sent me.
Yeah, why don't you throw the video up now and I can just talk through it. So the competition, this is our all over body wrap. So you mix it with cool water and it heats up on its own. So you don't have to add hot water to it. You just add regular tap water, lukewarm, whatever. And I'll wait until it goes into this, but this is really good for before, during, and after competition. So we did this video down in Florida with Jewel 8. If anyone knows Lexi Ray, she was gracious enough to let us use her beautiful horse as a demo beastie. So just going through this. So this is for all over. You can do it before, after, during, after competition. If you're showing for a week, you can do it halfway through, just kind of refresh your horse. And it's easy to do. So here's the cake making part of it, where the competition is two parts water, 1 part powder. And it should be the consistency of cake batter. So you want it to be gloppy off the whisk. And then you just paint your horse. And that woman there, that's actually Benedict. She came over from France to hang out with us in Ocala for a few days. And yeah, so it's actually quite fun. And it can be a little intimidating because you have to put the film on over top. But it's actually easy. And once you've done it once, you get the knack of it. And then any other time after that, it's a piece of cake. So this is the film that she was talking about, or that comes with the product. It's like a compost bag, and we all know how much horses love plastic bags. So it can be a little challenging if you have a horse that's nervous or anxious, but we do have another video that shows how to address that. But this just shows you how easy it is. So you put the competition on the horse, head to bum, and then you put the film over top of it, and then you wrap a cooler over top of it, unless it's too hot. If it's too hot, you can throw a towel over with a belly band, and if the film is making too much noise in the breeze, and then you let them sit for 30 minutes, and then afterwards you just rinse it off with warm water. You can remove most of it with the sweat scraper first if you prefer, and then that's it. And then the cleanup, you just scrape everything out of when you take the product off, you peel the film off, and then you scrape the product and you just put it all in the bowl that you mixed it all in. And then to clean it up, you just put it all back in the plastic, wrap it up, and you can throw that right in your compost bin. And then back to competition you go. And that's on my Equi-Libria bodywork YouTube channel, these videos.
That's awesome.
And they'll be on Facebook. I'm going to put them on Facebook later too. So
yeah,
I just did them all yesterday.
I actually have a part of the little film here. I just kind of want to show everyone a little bit up close and personal. And this by no means how large they come. They come in quite large pieces. But you're absolutely right. It's just like a compost bag. Very thin, very silky. Still has like that crinkly noise that you would from any bag. But very light. Yeah. Very, very light.
Very light. And what that does is you put that on over top, and then it seals in the heat. So that's why it's important, because even if you should try to mix the product and get it onto the horse fairly quickly so it doesn't lose its heat. But once you put it on the horse and then you put the plastic over top, the horse's body heat helps warm it up again if it did cool down. And it just gives a really nice toasty feeling, so that when you reach your hand under the cooler and on top of the film, it should be nice and warm.
Perfect. Now, can you, when you make the competition clay, does it have to be with cold water, or can you put it in like a little bit of warm water to get some heat there? I'm just thinking like, wintertime in Canada, and how cold it can be. Can you mix a little bit of warm water in there?
You can if you want. It will heat up on its own anyway. So you can use anything from cold to lukewarm. I wouldn't use hot water. You don't need to. And then the only other thing to your comment on the winter, you do have to rinse this product off. You can scrape it off with a sweat scraper and sponge, but you just want to make sure that you get any parts that are under equipment, like the saddle area, and the girth area. And if you use martingale or anything like that, you want to make sure that any part of the skin that is in contact with equipment is very well rinsed, because you don't want to leave marine salt between the equipment and the skin, because it can rub and irritate. So that's the only caveat to doing that. So that the rinsing off is a bit of a sticky thing in the winter if you don't have a heated barn or if you don't have heated water. But we do have a product for spot treatments that you can use very effectively if you need to, which is the self-heating. Yeah.
And we're definitely going to talk on that one, because that's probably one of my favorite products
My
that I've
favorite. Yeah.
All right, the next one I have, and correct me if I say this incorrectly, it's a Mont Saint Michel Marine Mud.
Very good. Yep.
My French came handy in there.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
So
now
what does this one do?
This one, my suggestion to people, if you're only going to buy one product, this is the product to buy. It is literally, if anyone has been to Normandy, there's the Mont Saint Michel is a monastery, and it's just off the shore. You can walk out to it at low tide, but not at high tide. So that basin is continuously washed with fresh marine life, fresh sediment, all of those nice nutrients and everything that's in the mud, scooped off the bottom. And this is the one that's in that knobbly top that's hard to get off.
Yes.
So it's scooped off and then packaged and then put in the oven, no preservatives, no antibacterials, and shipped over here. So this one is the arthritis powerhouse. It is also excellent for suspensory ligament injuries. So just to share one story on that, there was an eventer down in Florida who was campaigning for Pan Am, and her horse had a suspensory ligament injury at the end of February. Kate, what do I do? Marine mud 3 times a week. Okay, what else? That's it. Marine mud 3 times a week. So she's like, wait, what? So she did that, and the vet came back at the end of March for the 30-day checkup, did an ultrasound on the suspensory ligament, and went basically, holy cow, what did you do? Your horse can return to work. Originally, she said, do not ride the horse until the end of June. So end of February to the end of June. The vet said you can ride him in the middle of April. So
Wow.
it moved it up by 10 weeks. So amazing, amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can attest to this product well, because I contacted you in February as well, saying that my mare had pulled something and it was showing in the stifle.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first product you said, go with this one. And I would put it on pretty much daily for the first little bit, because she was on stall rest. And it did really help. I could see a little bit of a difference with just moving her out on the lunge line a couple of times a week. It just got exceedingly better.
Yeah.
So I definitely got that on my shelf back here, so that I have it when as needed. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's definitely a powerhouse product.
And that's another good point, actually, that you just reminded me of. All of these products have a cumulative effect. So the more you use them, the less you will need to use them as you go along. So it does have a very nice building effect. So for example, you can do marine mud 3 times a week, or you can do it every day if it's a fresh injury or something you're just a little nervous about. Do it every day for a week, and then do 3 times a week, and then do twice a week, then once a week, and just taper it back. And this product as well, you can use on anything. You can use it on people, you can use it on dogs, cats, whatever. We had people at the Royal Winter Fair, because you don't always get just horse people at the Royal, and we would have some seniors coming by saying, oh, this is for arthritis, and yep. So I would give them one mud glove, just one. And it's like, okay, go walk around and shop, come back when it's dry, and we'll see how you feel. And so they would come back, we would rinse it off, and they would be like, oh my God, I can make a fist. Like, this is amazing. So we had at least 5 sales of marine mud, and it comes in a big tub.
Right. Yeah, it does.
To people that don't even have horses. So they're like, I know, I'm going to give, this is my Christmas present. I'm going to give a baggie of this to all of my senior friends. Like all the ladies that play mahjong or bingo or whatever it may be. And It's amazing stuff. I used it on my knee. I had ACL surgery 2 years ago,
Okay.
and I used, yeah, soccer, fun. Um, and I used it on my knee, and this isn't what it does per se, but it's how I envision it in my mind. Is it makes space, so it makes the joint more open and more easy to use, like easy to flex, and it just kind of makes it, in my mind, it fizzles everything away, all the junk away, and leaves the joint more clean.
Yep.
But it just makes the joints move so much more easily. And the other thing that it's good for is any ligament to bone attachment. So joints, ligament to bone attachments. It also is great on splints and kissing spine.
Oh,
You can use it on navicular. You can smooth it over the front of the hoof. You can smooth it underneath on the sole. It can help alleviate navicular discomfort. And the one thing that I discovered by accident, thrush. I had a
absolutely.
customer whose horse had very deep heel bulbs and had chronic thrush. So I thought, well, let's just see what this does. And I pushed it in as far as I could get it in with a hoof pick. And by the time I had done the fourth hoof, I went back to the first one and picked it up, and it was pulling out red gunk. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
So if you've got a horse with chronic thrush, or your deep crevices that stuff is getting into, this could be something that could help clean it out. The
that's a great
only
idea.
Yeah, the only thing is that do not, because they have marine salt, don't use these products on horses with broken skin or on areas with broken skin. Um, Although salt is an antibacterial, it will sting.
Yeah.
So if you've got a thoroughbred, you would turn into a thoroughbred kite. Um, if you have a draft horse, they might not even notice. So, but that's just something to keep in mind. So people ask me about mud fever and whatnot. So if you've got any broken skin, it can irritate that. So I would just be very cautious of that. And if you're going around a wound on a leg, you can cover the wound with Vaseline or some sort of grease and just go around it. So, yeah.
Very good. The other thing I noticed with this particular product is you didn't need a lot. You didn't
No.
need a lot, and I know how you said you have to go in the um, upward
Yeah. Sweep
way with
up
it, and
and
then
then
down.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, so it gets underneath the hairs. But
Yeah.
honestly, for how big the stifle and the groin was that I used it on, I maybe used the size of a golf ball amount.
Yeah.
It blew my
Yeah.
mind.
A little goes a long way. And like the measure is basically, where am I here? So it's basically like you scoop and you just want to get that amount of the scoop. And
Yeah,
that will do, like a stifle, it'll do a fetlock, it will do most of a knee. Yeah, less is more. And when we talk about the draining clay, which I call an upgrade from poultice, you use a fraction of what you would use in poultice. And you want to kind of see the hair through it. You don't have to slather it on like you do with
right,
poultice. So if you get a tub of the draining clay in the clay format, that'll last you a long time, which is why I recommend that for people that are going to, have a lot of horses or are going to be using it every weekend, as opposed to the powder, which is good for if you're less frequent. It's inexpensive, and the powders never expire.
right.
They last forever. So yeah, so the draining clay powder is very economical.
Yeah. So why don't you just talk about the draining clay? I can put that picture up. There it is.
Sure.
Um, so how does that differ from the competition body wrap or the?
So this one is actually a treatment for a leg, or this one takes swelling out. So you would not use this. You could use it on a muscle, but the primary destination for this product is the legs. So bowed tendons or wind puffs, cellulitis. This one is fantastic on cellulitis. It's also really good for expediting the popping of an abscess. And abscesses abscesses and cellulitis seem to be very popular these days.
Yes.
So this one, if you put it on, if you suspect your horse has an abscess, just put it on the whole leg, knee down to the coronet band, and it will help it pop out sooner because it offers a really strong lymphatic drain. So this one is This one is really good. It's a natural anti-inflammatory, and it's got high quality, with the high quality clay. It tightens up everything. So you put it on and it basically creates a little bit of a pump. So this is the one that replaces stable bandages. So instead of wrapping your horse and having the wraps create the tourniquet effect, you can put this on and their own body will do the pumping for them. So it's really good. What else on that one? So wind puffs, cellulitis, abscesses, anything that is puffy but not hot. If it's
Okay.
like cool and puffy, edemas, hematomas, anything like that, that is perfect for. And it replaces stable bandages. It's an upgrade from poultice.
And you said there's a clay and then there's a powder, right? So when would you
Yes.
advise the clay in versus the powder?
The clay comes in a 5 kilo, so it's fairly big. So that's good for somebody who has a lot of horses. So we tend to sell that to racing barns and trainers that have a lot of horses. If their clients all use it. The powder is good for the more recreational person. So if someone's going to, a couple shows a month or doing hard training a couple times a month, you just mix it up on demand, and you can mix what you need for the weekend and take it with you so that you don't have to mix it at the show or at the clinic, wherever you are. And that's the economical one, because the powders don't expire. They will last for forever. You keep them in a cool, dry place, and they'll last you. We found some at a client's, and it was 5 years old, and we just tried it, sparked it up, and it was as if it was one day old. So
Mm-hmm. So the powder is more for on an on-needed basis, basically.
right, it's for a smaller volume user because you only use what you're going to need. So as opposed to having that big container,
Yeah.
the shelf life, I'll just make a comment on this quickly. The shelf life does say 6 months on the packaging. That's a regulatory requirement. It does actually last a lot longer than that. So don't be put off by the 6 months. We've used product that was much longer than that, and it was absolutely fine and just as effective.
Perfect. Always a good thing to note.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about the Mont Saint Michel marine mud helping like lower limbs, and more,
Mm-hmm.
and the draining clay helping lower limbs, but not when there's any heat. So why don't we jump right into the Cryo Tendon? Because I'm really excited to hear about this one, and I know it's one of the fan favorite.
Yes. This was one that we used as a demo product at the Royal as well, and smeared on people's wrists. And it's pretty interesting because this product, it's a mixture of green algae and mint, and there's a bunch of other things in there. And it takes the tissue temperature down by 10 degrees Celsius, which is up to 18 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe. And which is very effective because when you have heat, you do not have healing. So in order for anything to start healing, you need to get the heat out first. You need to stop the inflammatory response, which is usually accompanied by heat. And then you can actually get the tissue to start healing and all of the cellular activity you need to heal. So this one, you put it on. Again, you don't wrap this one. This one especially you don't wrap because the body heat of the horse will negate the cooling effect. So what you do is you just put it on. You only need a thin layer, and it will zap heat out, and you can leave it on overnight if you wish, or you can rinse it off after about 20 minutes. So if you are going to leave it on for at least 20 minutes. And as far as removal, it's up to you. And
Perfect.
this one, there's 3 elements to this. And I know the lake treatments get a little confusing. So this one, the primary action is that it cools. The secondary action is that it drains. So if you think of a horse with a sprain, if your horse tweaks a foot in the ring or takes a weird step, or you're on a trail ride and it steps in a little hole, it will help with the heat, it will help with the draining, and it also has a mild analgesic effect. So it does have some mild pain relief in there, natural pain relief. It's not an added drug. So this is a really nice one. And the added thing on this one is that if it's really hot and your horse has tight muscles, this can be a cooling body wrap instead of a heating body wrap. and you don't have to cover it with the plastic. So when it's really hot, when we get in those days that are plus 30 and your horse is a little sticky and stiff, you can put this on them instead, and it will have the same benefits as the competition.
Oh, that's awesome. And you
Yeah.
can use it as a little bit of a spot treatment too. So say a horse has been kicked and has a little bit of hematoma with a little bit of heat. Can you put that just on the area to kind of have that draining and cooling effect?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can put this, for example, on racehorses. Sometimes we'll do just a swipe down the shoulder and a swipe along the spine and then leave them. You can do a swipe down the hamstring if you want to cool down the hamstrings. On the stifle, you can put it anywhere where there's heat. So that's the deciding factor on cryo is if there's heat, do cryo. If there's swelling with no heat, use the draining clay. Swelling with heat, cryo. Anytime there's heat, cryo.
Perfect.
Just like the name implies.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think last but not least, we have the self-heating marine mud.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now this one, the product name is a little confusing because it's not to be confused with the Mont Saint Michel marine mud. This one is more similar to the competition body wrap.
Okay.
The difference is that this one gets super hot. So you can't actually put this on with your hand. You will burn. So you have to use a spatula. So this one you mix up like the competition, only the proportion of water to powder is a little different. This one is 1 part water to 2 parts powder. You want it to be thick. So if I call the competition your cake batter, this one is your frosting. So you want it to be thick, and you want basically the whisk to stand up in it. And you put it on with the spatula. You want to put it in a thicker layer than the competition, because if your layer is too thin, the heat will go up and you want it to go down. So you put it on just a bit thicker, and then you cover it with the plastic that comes with it. The plastic, those films come with all the body wrap products, so you don't have to worry about ordering them separately. Cover it with the plastic, and then because it's usually a smaller area, you can just cover it with a towel, or if it's warm enough outside, you can just leave it with the film and it will be fine. And this one you leave on for 20 to 30 minutes, and then I always prefer to scrape this one off because you put it on a little bit thicker. You can scrape it off and then sponge, or you can hose it off. But again, this has the same rule as the competition, where anything that's going to be under equipment, you want very well rinsed so you don't have that marine salt between the equipment and their skin.
Perfect. And how hot does it actually get? Because obviously, we can't apply it with their hands, but we're putting it onto our horse's skin. How hot does it actually get for them?
It gets between 40 and 45 degrees Celsius, which is upwards of 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And you would think, you think of a horse and they can feel a fly land on them. So their skin's pretty sensitive. You would think that that would be too hot for them, but when you determine that your horse needs that, and you say you pour that on a sacrum, the horse literally just melts there, and you can do whatever you want to them after that. So it's this one's really gratifying because you can just see the horse just letting go and just the relief that they're getting, and it's just so good for them.
Perfect. So, and this one can be used for any kind of joint issue, say like in like sacrum with the SI, or in the neck.
Yes.
Anywhere that's really kind of fatigued and tight, holding tension and stiffness, basically.
And any joint that is heavily muscled, like attached to a lot of the big muscle groups. So yeah, and I didn't say this before on the competition. So on the heating body wraps, so on the self-heating and the competition, there's certain areas you don't want to put that. So you don't want to put it down the jugular groove of the horse because you don't want to heat up their blood. So avoid the jugular groove, avoid their chest, avoid the groin inside the hind legs, and the belly for the most part, because it's just too warm for them, and they're actually not going to, if they're not going to enjoy the treatment, they're not going to get anything out of it. So so the self-heating, you can put a little bit on the pole if they're really tight in the pole. You can put it down the cervicals, you can put it down the shoulder, The withers is another popular spot for them. A lot of horses get jammed up in the withers. I usually use it on SI pole, or sorry, sacrum pole, and like the C7T1 junction in their shoulder. That's a biggie too.
And I bet this would be kind of good for those with, this characteristics of the hunter bump, or even like a little bit of kissing spine, right? Just
Yeah.
to alleviate some tension in those vertebrae there.
Mm-hmm. You could use this in concert, and again, talking about the combining the products, you can use this in concert with the marine mud. So you relax all of the muscles with self-heating, or even the competition. You just relax all the muscles along the spine with that, and then to soothe the joints in between each of the vertebrae, you use the marine mud.
Oh,
Now,
perfect.
here's another trick. If I could just jump back to the marine mud, because didn't talk about this. You can warm up the marine mud and use it as a heated treatment. So you can either warm it by putting a bowl of the marine mud into a bowl of hot water, so like a hot water bath, or if you need to, you can microwave it. My preference is the hot water bath, but just put a little bit in there and you can warm it up. And this is especially good for kissing spine and for splints. You heat it up, you apply it wherever you need it, and then you cover it in plastic for 15 minutes. Once the 15 minutes is up, you take the plastic off and then you just let it air dry. And then again, you can leave it on overnight or you can brush it off when it's dry. It's entirely up to you. But that's just a deeper treatment because that heat will get in there and it will just help that much more with the treatment. Same goes for if you're using it on arthritic hands or knees, shoulders. It's really good on your neck. Yeah, it's really versatile.
Yeah, so many benefits and so many different methods to using all these different clays. It's great.
Mm.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you, but I know maybe some of our audience might have one. Megan actually has a question. Are any of these contraindicated for pregnant mares?
It depends how far along. You should not use them in the last trimester. Um, you can use the self-heating mud on the back to help them carrying that extra weight. You can basically do it sacrum and then all the way down the hamstrings just to help give them a little bit of relief from the extra weight they're carrying. Yeah, you can do like last trimester. You can do it up to 3 months. Stop at the 3 month before birth mark. You can go up to there.
Perfect. I hope that
But you
answers
can
your
use the
question there,
products.
Megan. Another thing that kind of I've witnessed and experienced is that the film can be quite scary for the horses. Like you said, it's kind of like a paper bag.
Yes.
So I know you sent me a wonderful video, so I'm going to play that. Maybe you can give a little bit of a narration to
Sure.
it, because it's a little bit awkward to deal with when you have a bit of a
Yes.
sensitive-minded horse.
Yes, absolutely. And this one actually also shows the self-heating body wrap and how that's different from the competition. But I'll talk you through that.
Oh, not popping up. Where did we go?
I'm glad you're doing this and not me.
Technology doesn't always play on my side.
Technology.
Ah, isn't it the greatest? And we've disappeared as well.
Hmm.
See if I can figure this out. Otherwise, we're just going to have to talk about it until I can figure it out.
Well, I'll just go into, so if you have a horse that is very scared, and my last horse was quite anxious and nervous and all that stuff, and even think of walking towards him with a plastic bag and he would levitate. So there's two ways of doing it. So because you're covering them with a cooler, you can either hide the film inside the cooler, and you actually put the cooler on them first. Is it going to cooperate, do you think?
I don't think so.
Huh. Well, it'll be up on our pages
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
So basically what you can do, so you lay out your cooler on the ground inside up, and then you lay the film on top of it, and then you just kind of gather it all together, and then you go up to the horse and you just slowly, because the film is still going to make some noise like a paper bag, and you can just put the cooler with the film against their skin over the horse. And then you basically do it up like you would be if they were having the whole treatment. So you do up the neck straps and the front. But then to get them comfortable, I recommend that you actually start with the bum. So what you do is you just fold the cooler and the film back over the back, apply the mud all over the bum on both sides, and then cover it with the cooler. And then you peel back the next section. So then you do their barrel and then, or along their spine and their ribs and up to their shoulder. And then you cover that with the cooler. And by the time you get close to their head, they're so relaxed that you can do whatever you want to them. The other way that you can do that is by cutting the film into sections. So you measure, the film that comes is about the size of the average horse. So you just measure the length of the neck and then you cut it. And then that is either you can cut it into, they're all folded along the center. So they're all folded in half. So you can either cut the section for the neck and then lay the fold along the top line, do one side, stick it, and then do the other side, and then pull that top layer over and stick it. Or you can cut it into sections. So you do the one side of the neck, and then you stick the film on it, go over to the other side, apply it all over the neck, stick the film to it, and then you can cover it with a towel or with the cooler, and you can just work in sections that way.
Perfect. Thank you for explaining that. I had no luck whatsoever trying to get the video going.
Well, gremlins.
At least it gives everybody an idea. And like you said, you'll have this up on your YouTube as well as your Facebook page so that if people want to kind of see the visualization of how to put the film on an anxious or stressed out horse, it's definitely a great way to do that as well. I have a couple more questions that actually popped up here. Have you ever had a skin reaction or contact dermatitis with these products?
No. No. I don't really even know what to say to that because I've had people that are concerned about that. The only thing that has happened is somebody used the Cryo Tendon and the leg was a little swollen after. So I suspect that maybe there was a cut on the leg. We're not really sure what happened, but I think there was something else at play there. But we have had no skin reactions. And if people are nervous about that, we suggest that you just try doing a little sample area and just making sure your horse isn't going to have a reaction. And just a note for people, if anyone is interested in trying just like a little sample of these products, if you're not sure what you're going to need, pick the one that you think, or ask me or Lauren what you think you should use, and I'd be happy to send you out like a little sample just so you can try it, because I get that these tubs it can be expensive to look after your horse, and you want to make sure that you're buying the right product, and we want to support your exploration of finding the right product. So if anybody wants sample bags, then that option is available as well.
Another question, how do the muds compare to that of poultice?
Way better. The closest one that would be compared with poultice would be that draining clay, which is the one that comes as either the big tub of clay or as the powder. But again, I think it's superior to poultice, number one, because you don't have to wrap it. So therefore you're teaching the horse's system to do its job, and you don't wrap it, so there's no risk of wrapping badly or the horse tearing the bandages off. There's less laundry to do. There's less time. I actually have a video up on my page. If anyone knows the lovely and talented Paula Federico of Dock Ridge Dressage, we did, I made her the loser in a race, and we had a race to see what's faster, draining clay or poultice. And I had done all 3 legs. If the horse had 5 legs, I would have had 4 legs done by the time she was done 1 leg with poultice. and you use a fraction of what you would use for poultice. So they come in what, 10 kilo? No, 5 kilo? No. How big is a tub of poultice? Those big ones, the uptight.
Um,
They're quite big, but I mean,
yeah,
you
they
have
come in
to
like
put it
a,
on like thick.
yes.
Whereas the draining clay, you take, like Lauren said, you take basically a golf ball in each hand, and that's a leg from knee to fetlock, if not a little more. You could go down the coronet band probably. And it's, the no wrapping. I mean, it was, when I did it with Paula, it was 23 seconds on and 26 seconds off or something like that to rinse it off. And if you're stuck, if you can't rinse it off, you just brush it off. It's just like clay.
So the products are very easy to remove. I mean, the ones that kind of stay a little wetter, it's definitely better, like you said, to use a sweat scraper and get that thickness off first. But those ones that are staying on for longer periods of time and tend to dry very quickly, sometimes I can just take a little bit of a curry brush or a really heavy dandy brush and just flake it off. And then go over with a warm towel or a damp sponge or something just to get the residual stuff off. It's super easy to remove.
And
Absolutely.
just an interesting note, clays and muds were the original thermographs. So, for example, if you know somebody that has arthritis and you give them a glove of the marine mud, you just like you're rubbing on lotion without rubbing it in. That's another important point. These products you just rub them on. You do not rub them in. So you don't want to rub them in like a lotion. But for the marine mud, if you were just to wipe that on your hand and watch it dry, the parts that dry last are the issue problems. Like those are the issue areas. So that's another good way to see if you're putting it on evenly, it can be a way for you to see exactly where the issue area is on a particular part of your horse or you or your dog.
Rebecca has a question. She said, what would you recommend for severe arthritis in the horse's knee and as well as an old suspensory issue? There's no heat
Yeah.
in the knee and the suspensory swells and gets rather hot.
Marine mud would be your best friend. Marine mud 3 times a week.
And does she keep it on there for a long period of time, say 2 to 3 months, or just until she sees a little bit of the changes going on, or can she do it ongoing?
If the horse is a senior, I would keep doing it and gradually taper off the frequency. So like we were discussing before, maybe at the beginning you could do it 4 times a week, and then after a month do it 3 times a week, and then taper it down that way. It would. I'm a big believer in read your horse and see what your horse is saying. Yeah, because nobody knows your horse as well as you, so you'll be able to tell when they're feeling better and when you can maybe start tapering off, or if they need a bit more help. It's so up to the horse. So it's
Oh,
gonna
it's
test your relationship. How well do
yes,
you know your horse?
exactly. Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Wally has a question. What would you use for wind puffs?
Draining clay. So draining clay is for anything that is puffy that you want hard and flat. So
Perfect.
whether it's tendons or edemas, or they've got some weird bump on their body somewhere, wind puffs, yeah, that would be the draining clay for sure.
Splendid. So that kind of brings me into a question that I was just thinking about. So why would cryo tendon be more beneficial than cold hosing in the long run?
Well, how much time do you have to stand there and cold hose?
Yes.
How still does your horse stand when you're cold hosing? And this was actually another funny story. I was at Dock Ridge, and there was somebody that their horse had an abscess, and they were trying to get the horse to stand in a bucket of ice water. And the horse wanted nothing to do with that. Well, I'm like, hey, I have a solution for you. Can and I told her about the product, and we put it on, and I have my laser thermometer. So I took a reading before we started, and then we put the cryo tendon all over the hoof, the sole of the hoof, and up to the fetlock. and waited 20 minutes. And then we took it off, and then we zapped it again with the laser, and it had dropped 8 degrees. And then just for kicks, and this is something that's amazing. I don't know if you have the thermal images, but we checked it about half an hour later because she was still there, and it had kept cooling. It was down another 4 or 5 degrees. So it's systemic. It gets in there and it cools everything right down. And even after it's off, and this was the experiment we did at the Royal with people, we would smear a little bit on the inside of their wrist, and then they would walk around and I'd wipe it off, and they'd come back later and they'd say, oh, my wrist is still cool. Like, what's going on? So it's quite interesting. So it's just so much easier than any of that stuff. The ice boots, well, they only last for so long. There's some really good ones on the market, but still they only last so long. And then if you don't have access to a freezer and you need to do it again, you're kind of stuck. So this is like having instant, easy ice in a bucket wherever you go. And it doesn't matter if it's, mine has been sitting in my car. I actually used some on a racehorse today. Mine's been sitting in my car. It got up to what, 30 degrees? And that was outside. I have a black car with a black interior. And I put it on, and just to show the trainer how it worked, I put it on the trainer too. Didn't matter. Didn't matter that it was hot and it was in my car. It still performed exactly as it was supposed to.
That's awesome. I'm excited to get my hands on that one this summer and
Oh,
figure it out.
it's really, yeah, it's pretty neat. Like even as a therapist, I mean, all of these products they're based on human treatments. So if you are stuck and you need relief on something, you can use all of these products on yourself. And just a little side note, because these are veterinary products and should be used for veterinary use only. If you were to throw a couple handfuls of, say, a competition body wrap in your bathtub when you're feeling like you've got the flu coming on, or if you ran a marathon, or if you feel like you ran a marathon and you're just sore all over, throw a couple handfuls in your bathtub. It'll look and smell like a swamp, but you will get out of there and you will feel fantastic. You have to rinse off in the shower, obviously, after you have your bath. Plus, you have to rinse out the bathtub. But it
I was gonna say
does not clog drains. Does not clog drains.
you might have
But
to do a little housework, but it's gonna be worth it because your body's gonna be feeling pretty good.
yeah, but the housework will be the next day because you'll just want to go to bed.
That's true. Even after like a really intense ride or something like that, you
Yeah,
got some pains, or you've had the
yeah,
unfortunate dismount off a horse, like you could probably put that in your bathtub too, right?
yeah, yeah. Benedict and I went to Michigan last April, a year ago, and we did 4 demos in 3 days, and we were feeling pretty beat up, and that's when she told me the trick. So when I got back home, I'm like, oh, okay, let's see if this works, because I'm the biggest skeptic, and I don't, if it didn't work on me, then I want nothing to do with it. And so I threw it in the bathtub. I'm like, well, I'll be. Holy cow. I had enough energy to crawl into bed. That was it. That was it. I was done.
But you felt good the next day,
Oh,
right?
I felt like a million. It's like nothing. It's like it never happened. It's like that, you know, the 8 hour drive and the concrete floor, like standing on concrete floors for so long and whatever, like it never happened. But we have photo evidence, so I know it did.
Another question, can you use these products with other modalities out there? Like I know you do a little bit of your Bowen, I've got massage. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't actually used them in unison, but I'm pretty sure you probably could, right?
You can. You just have to be careful. So these ones, they all go really, really well with massage. And actually, if you have a body wrap on a horse and you do some massage moves, it will increase your results exponentially. So for all the therapists out there, if you want to amp up your results, this is an easy way to do it. Um, so for the body wraps, you can get in there and you can release the glutes, you can release along the spine, you can release shoulders and necks and all that stuff way more easily at the end of a body wrap session. So it's a really good mix. The one thing, if for those who do PEMF treatments, you should wait about 5 days. You should leave 5 days between the treatments for doing PEMF. For body wraps, you can do the leg treatments, but For the body wraps, leave at least 5 days for that. Because I'm a big fan as well, just to kind of explain my thing. I look at modalities as being a boat going across a calm lake, and you want your modality. So you're going to do something to the horse and you're going to send the boat out and it's going to create ripples. You want to make sure that the ripples get all the way to shore before you send another boat out. So you want each modality to have its own time, its own voice, and all of that. But you can mix them. If you're not sure of what to mix, or if you're not sure if you can mix your modality with these, just pop me an email and we can talk about it if you're not sure.
So I know each mud has its own unique benefits and abilities, but is there a time frame in which the product should not be used any further? Like, are there a certain period of time that the benefits show and then they kind of subside, and the owner or trainer should not use them any longer?
Yeah. So for example, the easiest one with cryo, once the heat's gone, you don't need to use that anymore. But if there's still swelling, you might want to switch to the draining clay. So yeah, so as soon as the horse, as soon as whatever issue is resolved, you're done. You're done. So yeah. And then if you have any left over, then if it happens again, if it turns out to be a chronic issue, then you'll have it on hand to keep going. The only thing is, usually with things like arthritis, those tend to be ongoing. Those don't tend to have a time frame.
Right. Good to know. And of course, if anyone has any questions, they can contact yourself or myself, and that we can help them along with some protocols and things like that as well. Has anyone else got any more questions? We've had some really good insight here today. We've got lots of compliments as well, Kate.
Thanks, guys. Did you want to talk about demos when those are an option? Did you want to talk about those?
Yeah, absolutely. I know I had quite a few barn demos set up pre-COVID, but hopefully now that everything's kind of opening up, we're back in our barns, you know, our group numbers are starting to increase. I'm definitely open to bringing back those barn demos. So I know a couple of barns that'll definitely sign up. But it's a great opportunity for everyone to get hands-on. And Kate, by all means, tell us a little bit more about it, because I want to host them, but I actually haven't had the experience yet. So go ahead and fill us in with the details.
Yeah, so they're a lot of fun, and it's a really good way to understand the products and to literally get your hands dirty. So for a demo, we like to have about, well, again, it depends on the COVID requirements of the facility, but it's the weather these days is great, so we could do it outside, and that would make things a lot easier. But what it entails is it takes about 2 hours, sometimes 2.5 hours. We do 2 body wraps, so we need horses to work on, so horses that want free treatments. We usually do 2 body wraps, and then we go through a bunch of the leg treatments. So it's a great way to say, oh, so-and-so's horse has a puffy leg or has heat that he can't get rid of or whatnot. It's a great way to really see firsthand how these products work and how your horse reacts to them. And then it's also, you can ask all the questions you want. And like I said, it's fun. This stuff is just so much fun.
Yeah, I was honestly truly disappointed when we had to, cancel all of the barn demos, and I know a lot of people were so interested in literally getting their hands dirty, as you said. So again, contact myself. Kate will happily come along and bring products for everyone to give a go. So you want a couple horses to demo on as well, so you can see the results and the benefits firsthand and how easy it can be. I have a question from Kirsty. I have a pony with heat and suspensory. What would be better, marine mud or cryo?
See, this is where we get into economics as well, because we're not endless bank accounts. So the heat, ideally you would want to knock the heat out, because where there's heat, there's not healing. So ideally, you would want to use the cryo until the heat was gone, and then you would want to switch to marine mud. But if you only can buy one bucket, I would get the marine mud.
Yeah.
So, how long has the horse had the suspensory injury? Is it a chronic injury?
I'm not quite sure. I'll just wait to see if Christy can get back to us and I can answer that question for you.
And how old is the pony?
Nothing yet.
See, now that, for example, that would be a candidate, you know, send you samples.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
just to try, because the suspensory typically is suspensory. It's just such a small area. Usually it's just like there's a lot of check ligament injuries and whatnot. You need such a small amount that, you know, a sample will usually do the trick.
I'm actually luckily going to see Christy tomorrow, so I have my marine mud. So Christy, we're going to get your pony covered and you can see the benefits of it right then and there. Yeah, it's just a wonderful, it's so easy. And like you said, that marine mud, because it has so many broad spectrum health benefits and various health issues, that it's the best one to buy because it covers so many bases. Right?
Yeah. And the other thing with all of the products, again, going back to them coming from the sea. So if your horse is deficient in any nutrient, like little magnesium, selenium, calcium, vitamins, all these other minerals, these products will help just be a little top up on all of the tanks. So it's kind of like giving them a vitamin and mineral supplement as well, which is really great because their bodies will just shed anything that they don't need. So it's just there's so many benefits to these products. They're amazing. I love them. Did you disappear? I don't know where she went.
We'll get you all set up tomorrow and give it a go.
Perfect.
I think that's all I have. No more questions have come in. Lots of positive feedback. Sue said she'd definitely jump on a barn demo. Christy says, great info. Thank you very much. Rebecca,
thanks everyone for listening in. This is great.
Yeah. Hopefully this helps broaden the knowledge about the products. Encourages you to all at least try something on your horse and share the results that you get from. I know that myself, and I'm probably speak on behalf of Kate, would love to get any testimonials or feedback with the use of the products. And we have an opportunity for you guys to do that. We have a special for you guys. And so we want to make sure that you get these into your hands and are able to, again, get your hands dirty with them, utilize them quite readily. So we have a Facebook Live special for you. So basically all you have to do is reach out to Kate or I to buy any of the products. You'll get 15% off of your products. If you're in our local areas, we'd be happy to meet up or deliver. Other than that, I think Kate said there'll be some sort of shipping fee if you're a little bit further than our territory. And all you have to do is email us, put the code word Facebook Live or FB Live, and then give us some feedback on today's webinar on what you enjoy, what you want to learn, if you have any questions or concerns. I think that was about all the details for the live special. Did I miss anything, Kate?
No, the pricing is on my Facebook page. I don't know if you have a price list on your page, Lauren.
I don't, but I can most certainly
okay, we can throw one up, but
people that want them, that's for sure. Yep.
Yeah, the typical price for a tub is just to ballpark, it's $120 plus tax. So that's for the competition, 2.5 kilo, and that gives you about 4 to 5 body wraps. It gives you 6 to 7 if you've got a pony. The self-heating one, that's the spot treatment that gets really hot. Again, that one, the number of applications per tub depends on the area that you're doing, so that one's hard to say. The marine mud and the Cryo Tendon are also $120, and again, hard to say how many applications are in there. But a tub of marine mud, if you've got a horse with arthritis and you're using it 3 times a week, that will last you usually for a season. So it'll last you for the summer, whatever. And then the draining clay, the 4-kilo tub, which makes double that in product, is $120. The smaller one is $80, but we'll put the pricing on the website or on the Facebook page.
Absolutely, can definitely do that. That's all I have for information today. Everyone's got their questions answered, and of course, yeah, you can contact us at any time with any questions or concerns you might have. But truly, thank you so much for this opportunity, Kate. It's good for me to get a little bit of a refresher and learn a little bit more to add to my notes and to expand with my client base as well. So thank you so much for coming on my Facebook Live today.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. It's a pleasure.
We'll have to definitely do it again. Once we get everything kind of going and get some feedback from today's webinar, we'll have to host another one and get maybe more of a Q&A kind of session going.
Yeah. Or maybe it's possible to do a live stream at a barn.
Ooh, that would be exciting.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? You guys want a live stream from a barn? Perfect. Well, we've conquered everything today, from every Equithalasso product to the benefits to information on how to use the products. So hopefully everyone learned something from that. I'll be sure to make sure that this video itself is posted on my Facebook page. And then also be sure to check out my YouTube channel as well. I'm going to start posting some videos on there from past Facebook sessions. Just to keep the knowledge going, to get everyone on board with all the products that are out there for our horses and to keep them happy and healthy. So I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening, and I'll hopefully talk to you all soon. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.